Coming up next on our first ever episode of MASL Primetime, we take a look back at how last season finished off and a look ahead to what we can expect this year. MASL Commissioner Joshua Schaub joins us for a Skype chat to discuss the latest league news, including the addition of 3 new teams. And regular season play kicked off last weekend. You won't believe some of the goals that were scored. All this and more coming up on our debut broadcast of MASL Primetime. This is MASL Primetime. Welcome one and all to our first ever show, and each week we'll be bringing you all the best from the Major Arena Soccer League from here in our MASL studios. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bastyovanszky, and as mentioned, off the top, league play got underway last weekend, and we'll have all the game highlights for you coming up shortly. But first, since it is our debut show, it's the perfect time to take a peek back at last season and what went down, while also looking ahead to what we can expect from this campaign.
It's been 7 long years, Tom, since the Wave has been in this situation, back on their home turf here.
The Wave has not won a title since they went back-to-back against Baltimore in 2011 and 2012.
Guillerme lays it back, Marcio swings it far side, shot and goal! The big guy puts it away, 4-1 Milwaukee. Now we'll do it. The Ron Newman Cup stays in the United States, and it comes to Milwaukee.
Nearly 7 months have passed since the Ron Newman Cup was lifted that day, won by the Milwaukee Wave in its home arena in front of over 8,000 jubilant fans. For the Wave, it was the culmination of an unbelievable campaign that saw them lose just 3 times over that span on the way to the title.
The ultimate reward is being a champion. It surpasses any individual accolades out there, and winning a championship with the people that you work so hard with, just beyond meaningful. Words can't describe. To have the best fans in the league cheering us on, getting us over the hump and back to championship status was just remarkable. Just an all-around outstanding season. We were really happy.
What an electric atmosphere in Milwaukee, seeing that team win the championship. It was a long run for them, building up to that period of time, building up to that championship game. They executed on a 5-year plan, and the whole thing was just a tremendous opportunity for the league to showcase the great talent that we have.
The 2019-20 MASL season kicks off with 17 teams, stretching from Tacoma in the Pacific Northwest to Baltimore on the East Coast to south of the border in Mexico. There's excitement on many fronts this campaign, starting with the addition of 3 new franchises in the league, the Mesquite Outlaws, Sonora Soles, and Rochester Lancers.
Indoor soccer is much different than outdoor soccer. We're looking forward to the challenge. You know, for us, it's David versus Goliath. You know, we're always the underdog coming in after being promoted and trying to play against the big guy. So I'm excited about it. I know my boys are.
You know, we're working. We start now. This is not a sprint; it's a marathon. We want to get the team ready, you know, for the whole year. Excited with the talent and the attitude. So, you know, good beginning.
There's also tremendous excitement surrounding the movement of some big names in free agency. Among many transactions that took place, former MVP Frank Teu is now with the Ontario Fury, and Gordy Gerson takes his game to the Florida Tropics.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the free agency period this year, we saw unprecedented movement. The one thing that gives league value is parity and the outcomes of the games being in doubt. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that from last year to this year with the change in the talent pool.
Arena soccer just continues to grow, as does the tremendous talent level in the MASL. For Milwaukee Wave goaltender Josh Lemos, it's easy to understand why fans get hooked on the arena game.
When you compare it to, yes, outdoor soccer, it's very slow, it's very long. This game is it's basically the same length, broken down into 4 quarters. But I mean, it's an exciting game. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of skill needed. You're going to see very skilled players that are quick off and on the ball. So I mean, no, it's going to be great excitement for the fans.
As the season progresses, the MASL will announce new initiatives and broadcasting deals to further its footprint. And Commissioner Joshua Schaub is extremely pleased with the direction the league is headed.
We're getting better every year and we're growing. You know, we have M2, we're now launching M3, so the pyramid of soccer is being built out. But we feel very good on the strength and stability of the Major League Soccer League moving forward.
Welcome back to MASL Primetime. The regular season schedule kicked off last weekend with tons of great matchups on tap, and one of the most intense rivalries in the MASL was reborn in the process. The Sonora Soles have returned to the Major Arena Soccer League this season after taking a 1-year hiatus. The Mexican side were a league power previously, making 2 consecutive Ron Newman Cup championship game appearances in 2016 and 17. Now, their rivals to the southeast, the Monterey Flash, have made the last 2 championship finals, finishing as runner-up in both cases. So it was a Mexican standoff Friday night as the 2 powerful squads went toe-to-toe south of the border. And game highlights in this segment are brought to you by Miter. Miter, the official soccer ball of the MASL. And Sonora, we missed you. After taking a season off, the Suns are back. They hosted Monterey. The fans were pumped about it, but it was the visitors that hit first. Edgar Gonzalez, this guy had an unbelievable weekend, and he kicked things off with the opening goal. 2 minutes later, nice run by Marco Tovar here. Does it all himself, makes it 2-0, but then in the second quarter, history is made.
Bueno, el médico que estaba ahí pegado a atenderlo, quiso despejar con la frente, le pegó en la cara, buen disparo, media vuelta y gol de Soles.
Alejandro Leiva with the first goal for this incarnation of the Sonora Soles in their return. That made it 2-1. Back the other way, Brian Aguilar outweights the keeper and then feathers it by, and the Flash up once again by 2. Back and forth they went. Guillermo Salazar plays the ricochet off the boards, hammers it home. That pulls the Soles back to within a single goal. Then 50 seconds later, they equalize. Adrian Miller crushes the offering past the keeper. Here's a better angle. Nothing Diego Reynoso could do about it, and it was all tied up at the half. Second half, unlikely the goal of the week right here. Damian Garcia, like it was on a rope, absolutely crushes the free kick. Top shelf, still rising. What a strike. Sonora would equalize, but then it's Gonzalez. Left completely unmarked. Too easy. The little tap in makes it 5-4. Nothing easy about this one, though. Aguilar picks up his second of the day as he tattoos it into the back of the cage. Back the other way, make it a brace for Adrian Miller. Some fantastic goals in this contest, seriously. But every time Sonora got close, Monterey would keep slapping them down. Gonzalez, the hat trick to make it 7-5. The teams would trade goals from then on. It ends up as a 10-8 win for visiting Monterey. To the Battle of the Sunshine State, Orlando hosting the Florida Tropics, and Florida debuts its newly acquired superstar, Gordy Gersten, for this one, although he was held off the score sheet. Seawolves draw first blood. Jonathan Mendoza, the nifty header to make it 1-0. Nice goal there for Orlando. Still in the first quarter, Rafa Alves for the Tropics would equalize from a pretty tough angle there too. We saw a sliver of daylight and he took advantage. So tied at the half. They were. Third quarter, Hugo Silva comes up with the stop of the game. Flat out robbery on O'Dane Sinclair, point blank. Beautiful stop. The Tropics go back the other way, and Ricardo Carvalho hammers it into the top corner to give the boys in orange their first lead of the contest. They go up 2-1. Fourth quarter, Richard Sherman steals, and he will rip it past Silva. And once again, they were all knotted up. It was a 2-2 game, but Florida would ultimately triumph in this one. Sublime pass by Joey Tavernese back for Matt Clare. And Joey's a member of the U.S. national arena team, so yeah, he knows the game. Great finish by Clare as well. That would ultimately prove to be the winner as the Tropics spoil the home opener for the Seawolves, and anytime they can spoil their in-state rivals' day, they're a happy bunch. Baltimore, MASL champs, 2 of the last 3 seasons hosting Utica. Christian Segura breaks the ice late in the first quarter. Sweet move, even better finish. He makes it 1-0. Second quarter, Ibrahima Keita shakes and bakes and goes 5-hole on Andrew Coughlin to tie it up at 1 apiece. 4 minutes later, though, Bo Yelovach catches William Venzela way out of the net, and he burns him. 2-1 Utica, but then it's Daniel Peruzzi with one of the goals of the week, packing some TNT in that right foot. We pick it up in the second half. Utica leading 4-3. Peruzzi again off the free kick. Knots up the game at 4-4, and then in the fourth quarter, Baltimore now leading by a 7-6 count. Leonato Smello out front. Nice footwork right there. Provides some extra insurance for the Blast as he makes it 8-6. Turns out they would need that padding as Utica got one back late, but ultimately Baltimore was able to hold on for the 8-7 win. This rivalry is going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. Okay, let's take a quick look at the MASL points leaders through week number 1. And what a week Edgar Gonzalez had. 9 points, followed by Adrian Gutierrez, Alejandro Leyva, Brian Aguilar, Christian Segura, and Juan Rojo. 4 of the players tied with 5 points. But yeah, Gonzalez, 7 goals, 2 assists, our week 1 leader. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. And seeing as it's our first ever show, it seemed only fitting that we talk a bit more in depth about the Major Arena Soccer League and the ins and outs of the league. And who better to do that with than the commissioner of the MASL, Mr. Joshua Schaub, who joins me now via Skype from the league headquarters. Josh, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thanks for having me. Obviously, a great honor to be on the show, the first show of MASL Prime. Very excited for what's to come for this particular episode and really the whole series with you, Alex. So congratulations.
Good stuff. And you know what? It's going to be a lot of fun bringing all the highlights and latest news to people every week. And of course, some people may be tuning in and getting their very first glimpse of arena soccer. So maybe tell them a bit about the MASL, the sport of arena soccer, and what they can expect.
Yeah, arena soccer, for those that are new, is extremely fast. There's a lot of scoring. It's a great cross between the outdoor game of a football or soccer and hockey. So we have power plays, we have line changes. This last weekend, in fact, our teams averaged 11.3 goals per game in terms of the games themselves, and goal differential for the winning team is only 1.3 goals. So it's extremely fast, it's exciting, there's a lot of goals. It's also very physical. Much like the crossover with hockey, there is a lot of body-on-body action. There's some boarding that typically happens. So a very exciting sport that mixes some of the nuances of the outdoor game, a little bit of futsal, and some strategy of hockey. So yeah, great for all families and sports fans in general.
Now, you mentioned the physicality. Tensions do tend to run high in the sport of arena soccer. And you know what? It's got huge international appeal as well. We can see that from just looking at the makeup of each roster. Players from all across the globe, Europeans, South Americans to go along, of course, with the North Americans. And it's become quite a popular landing spot as well for some big-time players from the 11v11 game who've played at the highest level, names that fans will definitely recognize.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at our current roster this year, obviously Jermaine Jones sticks out as the biggest name that we currently have. But in the past, we've had Dwayne D. Rosario last year, Landon Donovan. We have a lot of former MLS players. Last year, Kevin Ellis, Lewis Neal's back in Orlando. You know, MLS players dot our rosters, and I think we're going to see an influx of more of those players coming that they're able to extend their career after the outdoor game, simply because the indoor game is a little different. And, you know, the runs are different. The line changes make it more tenable going forward for those players. So, yes, extremely exciting to bring some of those big names to the sport.
Well, Josh, this season we see the influx of 3 new teams in Rochester, Mesquite, and Sonora. And, of course, 2 of those franchises in the Lancers and the Soles are back in the league after taking a hiatus. There's some real excitement, isn't there, about these markets and what they're going to bring to the MASL?
Yeah, speaking particular to each scenario, so Rochester comes back after quite a long hiatus, but bringing back a ton of excitement there in Rochester. It's a brand that's been proven in the outdoor game, now in the indoor game. Soccer Sam Mantuzo is the operator, brings a great system and a great operation. A lot of excitement for his fans up there. I think they're going to really challenge the East in a number of ways and provides just a great brand for our league once again to help grow. Out west in Sonora, 1 year hiatus to let them reorganize. They're a great team that's performed really well. They just had a huge opening night crowd over in Sonora. Introduced new red turf, and as always, the entertainment there was great. And then just the roster they put together and continue to put together after a number of years of success in the league. We expect them to challenge out west. Then in Texas, adding Mesquite, and then really creating the derby between the Sidekicks and the Outlaws, I think is great for our sport. A renovated arena over there in Mesquite, and Tattoo leading that team. It's going to be really awesome to see what happens there and how they affect everything out west and in the south. So bringing those three teams on board is definitely a lift for our organization as a whole.
Yeah, as you mentioned, that red turf in Sonora really stands out. It's like the Utica blue turf, definitely original. Love it. We're almost out of time. We've got about a minute 10 here to go over this. But Josh, before we let you go, what are some of the league initiatives this season that fans can look forward to down the stretch?
Yeah, big thing for us going into this year was the year of media. So we're trying to build out the content for our fans. This show obviously being the big piece or rock of our content, and then creating a new podcast and hopefully an X's and O's show to really let fans into the inside of how our game works and the strategy, and peeling away the layers of the onion so you can understand the game better, become more ingratiated with it. So building out those content pieces are big for our fans this year. I think after this first weekend, you're going to see a lot more parity, as evidenced by a couple of games that I think almost everyone would consider upsets. Those things continue to give our leagues value. The content piece will help grow our game going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Cal and San Diego taking down the Sockers on their home turf. And of course, San Diego was some of the greatest fan support in the MASL. That was an eye-opener for sure, but we're out of time now. But thank you so much for taking the time on our very first ever episode of MASL Primetime. And obviously, we'll have you on again in the future. Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
All right, more MASL Primetime coming up in just a moment.
Porque quiere marcar gol. Viene Adriano. Solo Torres, solo Torres, solo Torres. Gol!
Welcome back to MASL Primetime. You know, even if you're new to watching the MASL, the San Diego Sockers should be a name that rings a bell for you. In fact, the Sockers hold a record for the longest winning streak in the history of U.S. professional soccer, a truly mind-boggling 48-game stretch that ran from 2010 until 2013, and that was not surprisingly part of a run of 4 consecutive arena soccer championships they won. San Diego are year in, year out one of the top squads in the league with some of the best fan support in the MASL backing them. Those fans were out in full force last Sunday as the Sockers hosted Turlock to kick off their season. And highlights in this segment are brought to you by Sports Resource Group, proud partners of the MASL, SRG, building walls that bring us together. San Diego lost just 1 regular season game last year. They were dominant. Cal won just 3 games, so this one opened some eyes. 5:42 in, Edgar Martinez playing hot potato with the ball, gives it up. Oops. 1-zip Sockers, but then look at the long run by Juan Manuel Rojo. Ridiculous solo effort as he goes coast to coast and ties it up at 1. 17 seconds later, Cal on the attack. They ring it off the iron. Martin Arista putting home the header to give Cal the lead. Second quarter, the Express can't clear it. Hiram Ruiz makes him pay with a nice shot. Tied up 2-2. Back the other way they go. Boris Pardo makes the initial stop. Adrian Gutierrez cleaning up the garbage out front, though. 17 seconds later, however, Martinez skies to make the first stop at the easy tap-in right there for Luis Ortega. Tied up again, but Cal had an answer every single time. Geraldo from distance may have surprised Pardo with the quick shot, for the Express. Second half, we pick it up, tied at 4 apiece. Ivan Campos, quick feet out front to deflect it home. Cal would end up holding on for the 7-6 upset win, leaving the Sockers knowing they got some work to do going forward.
You could start to see some players gelling and some runs together. So we build off of that for sure. We have to take some positives, but we also have to go back and look at the tape and figure out what we did wrong and fix it.
Okay, the rematch. Monterey knocked off Sonora on Friday. They met again Monday night, and while the first game was close, this one wasn't. 37 seconds in, Miguel Vaca making it 1-0. The Soles did manage to tie it up. Manuel Aragon strikes it and may have been deflected. Regardless, it's in. It was all Monterey from that point on, though. Vaca gets his second right there to make it 2-1 Flash. And then Brian Aguilar with the gorgeous assist to Eric Ponce. It was 3-1. Second quarter, 4-1 at this point. Beautiful passing by Monterey. Adriano Nunez making it 5-1. Second half, down 6-2. Sonora gets one back. Enrique Quinez on the doorstep cuts the deficit in half, but then look at the snipe here. Edgar Gonzalez, that is dirty. You'll be seeing it again in the plays of the week. Monterey sends the fans home happy as they blow out their national rivals by a 12-4 count. Okay, one more for you. Utica City hosting Baltimore in a rematch from earlier in the weekend. This was UCFC's day. Christian Segura getting the ball rolling to make it 1-0. Second quarter, they add to it. Hide your kids. There's murderous intent behind that shot. Liam Callahan making it 2-zip. And then Segura notching his brace, catching William Vanzela in no man's land. 3-0 UCFC at the break. Second half, Baltimore snaps the shutout at the very least. Mad scramble. Vinicius Dantes finally putting it home. But they couldn't match the Blues on this day. Ricardo Dieguez makes it 4 for Utica. They'd hold on down the stretch for the 4-2 win over the Blast. Okay, the MASL Team of the Week for week number 1, and no surprise, Edgar Gonzalez on top after 9 points. Adrian Gutierrez, Christian Segura, Juan Gonzalez, Ibrahim Keita, Andrew Coughlin in goal to round it out. And our primetime player for week number 1, and it could be no other than Edgar Gonzalez of the Monterey Flash. Edgar shredded the Sonora Solas over the weekend in 2 contests. He was dominant against his Mexican rivals, putting up 9 points. 7 of those points were goals. And if you guessed he'll have a goal in our plays of the week, well, then you guessed right. And it's a nice little segue into the plays of the week for week number 1. Number 5, Christian Segura of Utica City catching William Vanzela cheating off his line. Nails the shot from his own end. Number 4, end-to-end rush by Cal's Juan Manuel Rojo. And the big finish. Booyah. Very nice. Number 3, Baltimore's Daniel Peruzzi tattooing the offering top shelf against UCFC. Number 2, our primetime player Edgar Gonzalez ripping the twine with that bullet against Sonora. But number 1 goes to his teammate Damian Garcia, this one on a rope. I mean, this thing was still rising. Unbelievable strike. Beautiful. And that is our play of the week. And that's going to wrap things up for today, but we'll be back every week throughout the regular season. And just a reminder, MASLsoccer.com is your home base for all things in the Major Arena Soccer League. And of course, there's all kinds of other social media to keep you up to date as well. Thank you so much for watching our first ever broadcast of MASL Primetime. We'll see you next week.